Okay, yeah, we're still just trying to get a few more things set up, and we'll be getting started pretty soon, hopefully within the next 5 minutes or so. You're able to hear that? Ooh. Okay, yeah, we're still just trying to get a few more things set up, and we'll be getting started pretty soon, hopefully within the next 5 minutes or so. Bit of a delay, huh?
That's an RTT. So yeah, you won't have any video.
Okay, yeah, we're still just trying to get a few more things.
It's speaking back, that's how it is.
Okay. So I can't do audio?
Well, no, I think you have YouTube playing on here.
Yeah, or what if I just mute mine?
Well, I think I'll turn it off on here, just get rid of YouTube. I don't think this is that's what's causing it to. Yeah, that's what you have audio feedback, so I assume you only just put it, so you drop that down. There you go. Okay, that's what it's for that. It was feedback.
Yeah, so just to clarify, don't worry about joining the audio of the WebEx. The audio, you can talk into the mic here. And if you want to bring your laptop up with you, you can do that, or you can have another one of the people on your team drive the laptop. So you're just going to present from your laptop like you normally would, except you're also going to share your whatever's on your screen in the WebEx. But the audio is still going to come from this mic because we're feeding this mic into the system over there.
Back to the more participants are not in the WebEx or on the live stream?
Okay, how about now? Are they able to hear now? Okay. Well, here, I'll give it to you.
Okay. We had goals. This is the R2S team doing some actual protocol back and forth. Eric, you're going to do your own stuff, right?
I can. I'm trying to fight the job to get it logged in. Is it possible that I can go a little bit later? Or I can get a screen to show what's going on here direct? Your choice.
Okay. I'm sure it's up to him. You can go later, but Eric was, okay. So Eric was adding a delete subscription capability to the Yang push code. Why this is important for R2S is the Yang push code was developed as part of the, based on some requirements for R2S, which is to push subscriptions. So that was progress that's happened in between, and Eric was upstairs quietly coding, hidden away from the rest of us, doing the delete subscription capability. So we're really pleased on that. By accident, yes. That's what he says. So then the next thing is, just before this interim, we had, for the IR2S protocol team, we had one of our contributors from the University of, I think it's Munich in Germany, but I may be mistaken from Edwin's. And he sent an R2S VM with a actual whole build environment on a VM. So since that was our problem last time, we were very happy that someone sent us the code. He's in the, that's the location of the VM. So a couple of us tried to get the VM up and working on our laptops, and we ran into trouble that although this VM works very well probably in Edwin's home with a lot of memory, when it got to the laptops, it ran out of memory. And so the laptops kept rebooting in the VMs, and we didn't make much progress. So our new goal was to hack together an R2S client and server and actually get the client and server working on a development box, and also in parallel to create a mini virtual environment. So half the team did the virtual environment, and that was Don and Mamadou. Did I pronounce that right? Good. Who's first time at the IETF? First time at the IETF, first time hackathon. Everybody should clap now. Yay. We are so fun. And he joined the team at today. Lucy also got Yuma Yang Pro CLI up and working and got our Yang module running. So that was half of our thing. I think I should do the next one so the picture's probably a little easier. Did the picture come up? Did something? Okay, so what we decided to do over here is we got a Yang CLI Pro working for the Yang modules, and we quickly loaded our R2S RIP module because it compiles for Benoit scripts, and it automatically quickly loaded into the Yang CLI GUI. We also got Comfy, which I downloaded this morning free from Cisco, and compiled it, and we loaded our Artuous module in here, and we were seeing connectivity between it. Our goal was to get a route add and then put it down into the Quagga Zebra. Zebra is the main code, and try to get the RPC. The environment, which Don and Mamadou had, was also communicating with the router. So we almost made it. In just a couple hours, we got the Yang CLI working, the Comfy working, but I still have to hack the Zebra code. Now, I was hacking the Zebra code and thought I'd look up the Comfy. Lo and behold, what I'm hacking is what they charge for money at Cisco. So the integration between a Quagga is something they charge. So once we finish it, we'll publish it on the web. So we're pleased. This is better than last time where we just had trouble with the environments. Now go back up. Just so you see it. One more. We had myself, Don, Jason, who made all these wonderful second slides and was working on the Comfy with me and the rest. So thank you. We had a great time. We made a lot of progress, and we learned a lot. That if you're going to do work here, that we have to have enough space in the virtual environments. That'll help us. Second, we learned that the ODL environment has improved with Beryllium because it only took 10 to 15 minutes. But that what we really wanted to also see is if the publicly available Daemons Comfy and Yang CLI Pro also worked as quickly. They came up quickly. Much improvement over last time. So we're really thankful. Anything else you want to say, Eric? Did you get it ready yet, or?
I might have to show it local here. Basically, Java and Ubuntu 14 support. Oh, sorry.
I have the demo working. I have Java, not really working with Ubuntu 14, so I might have to just demo what I have and talk about it otherwise. So you want me to demo right here for now for what I have, what I can do? All right. Yeah, I'm going to go grab the ball. Okay, can you see my screen? There it is. What I'm going to do is talk about what we intended and what we actually pulled off. Myself and Ambika Prasad Tripathi from India did a lot of the work. Some of the final stuff I did with Waleed as we actually got the stuff working here. But basically our intended goal was to, as I said before, extend Yang pub sub client implementation in Beryllium with Delete subscription. Because of some fun with some SSH certificates, I was not able to get the thing working with the Open Daylight, but I did get two things working directly with the netconf session into the router itself. What I am going to show briefly, and if you guys want to come up and see it working in the netconf, is we have a create subscription working on Open Daylight, which I'm going to show. We have delete subscription working via a netconf session so that you can actually go ahead and delete a subscription. And for a bonus, because we had enough time, we got on change subscription working, where if there's a change made to an interface where it goes up or down, or if you change an ACL and it goes up or down, or if you change a route, add a route, it's pushed as it's changed out of the router to a netconf session. So we now have effectively with Open Daylight pushes of on-change and periodic data for any Yang model that we have in our XR box. This code is going to be included in the next Open Daylight release. We're right now scoping what is going to be up there for Open Daylight, and we're going to add, because we have a delete subscription and on-change subscription management with Open Daylight. Now, I'm going to show you a brief run of this in terms of what it looks like with Open Daylight. Anybody who wants to see this running with delete or change subscription and on-change notifications going off to a subscriber, come and see me afterwards, since I can't get the Ubuntu and Java and WebEx working in the same place. So I'm just going to show you the Open Daylight view. Okay, what you have here in Open Daylight is a XR image. Let me show what's in the demo, hold on. What we have here in our demo is XR VR image, and we're using netconf to get to it with a REST API that lets applications go ahead and subscribe to information on network elements. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you able to use a REST interface on Open Daylight in order to push something, and then I'll pass it off. So moving forward, what happens is you use XR VR1, you connect to the router. Once you've connected to the router with XR VR1, we go ahead and get to a REST API. In here, what's going on is you can see a create subscription that we're creating on a router. And we create the subscription using what's in the draft IETF push document. So the Yang push document allows you to create a subscription. And when you create a subscription, it says, you know, good, we've created a subscription. After you've created subscription, in this case, we're creating on an interface, you're able to see what is going on in that interface. So the create of the subscription lets you make a subscription, gets the information to Open Daylight, it's periodically pushed, and then you get continuous updates of state on the Open Daylight interface. We now have the ability to delete the subscriptions as well as do on change. So I think I've probably used my 5 minutes. Anything else you're looking for out of that, Susan? So summary, I've talked a lot. Basically, it is create and delete subscriptions on change and periodic for Yang models that are existing on a network element.
Cool, thanks, Eric. Any questions from our judges? We still have some more Yang associated stuff to go through, so, but if you had any questions, okay. Yeah, you're good for now? Okay. I'm just gonna stick on kind of the Open Daylight, ONOS, you know, I2RS, Yang stuff. So I know we have a couple more presentations. Benoit, do you wanna go now? You ready? Into...
Did you say you sent it to the chat room?
No, I sent it to the Hackathon mailing list.
Could you send it to the chat room?
Could you send it to the chat room for me, if you're... Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Just share.
Okay.
So I grab the ball. All right. So this session is about netconf and Yang. So, and the achievement of this hackathon. So actually it was a very successful hackathon. I'm very impressed. So we had a team, actually a wide team of people doing Yang, netconf and RESTconf stuff. So let's start with this. I'm tracking a number of models. If you see this curve over there, the green one, you see somehow the number of Yang models compiling, it dropped. What is the issue here? The issue is that we've got a basic Yang model we're working on, the routing one, and we have a new version. So it means that all the different Yang models that depend on that, they now fail compilation. Right? So what Harry did over there, and thank you for that, is that based on the tool we did last time, which is a dependency tool. You see at the middle there the IETF routing Yang model and all the different Yang models depending on that. He created a simple tool to drop an email to all the different authors of the Yang models in their draft. See this, going from Yang models to the draft to the email address. That's a very simple tool that does help me a lot. Thank you for that. And next step is to say if any of those depending Yang models, they compile or not. The second thing, thanks to Chin and Dapeng. So they came here in the morning for the hackathon, and somehow they went to the code sprint, a different room, to work with Henrik on how to use the Yang compilation directly into the submission tool. And they worked on improving this and having all the different Yang models in the past so that whenever we submit a Yang model, it compiles correctly. What's funny is that, as I said, they went to the code sprint room to do something which is half code sprint and half hackathon. Somehow it tells us something about the future of, the combined code sprint and hackathon, and that the code is king in the end. So thank you for that. So Eben Harris helped us with the type def and groupings. So on my website, this is the next point there, I have a tar file with all the type def and groupings. These are elements in Yang models that could be reused by different Yang models, right? What we observe is that somehow with all the different drafts that we have right now, people are reusing the same definition. Or sometimes the same definition name with some different definitions. So he helped us with that. Thank you. The next thing is, on my website there, I now have a daily upload from different SDOs. We've been working with BBF lately. We have now 127 Yang models coming from BBF. And I'm still missing some of them. All of these Yang models do compile correctly. We've got some from MEF as well. Now, the key thing is that while developing all these tools, we've been spotting multiple mistakes in the different Yang model that are developed right now. A simple thing like that we discovered 2 hours ago with Eben is, okay, some people don't put the right format of the date. Okay, that's an issue. So every single time we're just sending an email to the authors. So David and Christian have a tool to go from Quagga and OpenConfig. And as you see, I was trying to update this like 2 minutes ago before going here. I received an email, it was like very late, 2 minutes ago, telling me it's working now. I could go from TLF, NetOper, then to JSON, apply script, Quagga. That makes my day, right? It's just working. And yours as well, David, right? The next one, which is key, is a Yang data model catalog. So as you know, we've got plenty of Yang models coming from all over the place, right? There is a draft over there called the catalog that contains information like, okay, the prefix, the name, the version, etc., but also where is this implemented, on which platform, who's the contact name, etc. So I discussed like 20 minutes ago with Ignace telling me it's work in progress. At the same time, at the other side of the table, Chin came to me and said, oh yeah, we did it, done, code is there. So we can extract all these fields from Yang models. The next thing is to populate the catalog, right? So thank you for that. And by the way, just quoting Chin there, he came to me with a big smile telling, coding is fun. That will be important for the industry, this catalog. because we will have plenty of Yang models coming from all over the place. In terms of protocol work, Eric mentioned already like the PubSub. Kent has been updating his netconf call home. He will present a few slides on this. And before doing that, we've got also an important application, which is YAM, the YDK app maker. So a couple of points I want to make here. First of all, you will see a demo of this. This is a way to go from a GUI that does Yang models directly into the netconf or RESTconf encoding. And that will create directly a Python script. This is the promise of data model and the promise of Yang data models. Data model-driven management. Now, it would help people that want to start with a GUI to work with scripts in the end, and it will stress that the key is data model. The second thing I want to mention here, it was like a remote hackathon. Those 3 guys could not get the visa to arrive here. They've been working from the office, right? And if you believe that we finish late at 10, well, they've been working like 3 a.m. to get this working. So thanks for that. And you will see a demo of that, I think now, Charles, right? Mahesh. So they will be online and doing a quick demo of that. And then Ken, it will be for you with the call home.
So his audio is coming back to my computer. Audio will come from here. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So, yeah, my name is Manish. I, along with my team member Praveen and Abhishek, are going to demonstrate YAM, YDK app maker for IETF system.yang model. What we have done is we have installed a YDK at these locations. It's present as a part of a GitHub location under Cisco DevNet. We generated a Python-based SDK for IETF system.yang file and downloaded and just installed it here at this location. And the API that looks like for ITM system.yangs are shown here at this particular window. So if you see, like for this example, in this case, container systems, right? So there is a system objects for that. So not only that, there are more than one class that has been generated for this as a part of YDK SDK. So now you as a YDK application programmer are going to use this generated API to develop the application. And you have to write, if you have to automate a script that configure a system container with all this information, contact, host name, you have to write a script which will include a setup of YDK, setup of netcon, setup of services you want to use, and usage of these classes that we generated, like it is shown here, populate those content, and then run that script, right? So the promise of YAM is to automate this writing of this application for you, 100%, right? So that's where the YAM come into picture. So quickly jumping on to the use cases, like when you can use a YAM. We have written a YAM as a utility, which is installed here. So if you are you're just starting programming and you are looking for a user-friendly tool to give a data content to your data model, and you like to have auto-generated app, which I just shown right here, you can come to a user interface-based tool. For that reason, what we have done is we have used Yang Explorer, which is again hosted in Cisco DevNet. You can come to Cisco DevNet GitHub, download that. All the instructions are given here. We have downloaded that and installed at this location. There are some hacks done to these tools as a part of Hackathon, which we are yet to push. Hopefully, in end of day, we'll push that. We have just installed that, and then you just start the server, and it gives you a localhost, URI that you can run in a browser to launch it. Once you launch it, we have set it up the IETF system model here, and we have a netcom simulator running on this local machine as a part of NetSame. So what I have done is it's a localhost address, right? So now what you can do is browse through, navigate through this data model, and you can start giving content to this data nodes. For example, here contact, right? IETF, right? So host name is demo, right? And the location is, let's say, SJC. So if once you give the content to various data node, and then here if you push the RPC, this shows actually how the XML will look like, right, for you. But now since we are talking about a generation of an end-to-end runnable script for you, once you click the YDK app, the whole script comes out. You can copy this script, right, by clicking this button called copy, come to the console, right, so right here, and then you can just copy it into like demo, app.python file, and just save it here. So this is how this generated script look like. So it does all the, it went to the YDK, it looked into this Yang model, and it realized that this Yang model has these many imports from YDK SDK, and it utilizes this module, it utilizes these objects, and these are the properties of those objects. It populated the content to those, and based on the operations you specify here, which was a config edit operation, it invoked the method. At the same time, it also does all the boilerplate code for you, like setting up of the netconf connection, setting up of the YDK logging, all that is required to connect to the box, right? So once you save the scripts, you can run that script. I have here mechanism to run since I saved it in a test/demo app. So I'll run this app, demo app.py, and this is a SSH client using netconf protocol at this IP and host. I run it, and then it's run without any error. So this particular thing has been right now configured onto the network simulator device. So this is the first use case that we have been talking about. At the same time, if you have a netconf and restconf payloads, or if you have already have scripts in-house which are written like something like this way, right? So you are leveraging the RPCs and you are connecting to the netconf server and sending this RPC, and now you aim to move to YDK. The first question come to your mind is, how do I populate these objects? How this XML, what are the objects involved in YDK? How do I set up the, YDK system? For that reason, what we have done is, whatever you see in this GUI as a YDK app, that has been exposed as an API as a part of a YAM module as well, ls-l. So, and I have just written it here, right here, bridge, as showcasing the example of that. Just import this app.gen instance, which is a part of a YAM module, this class, and then you just invoke this method called generate app. It will generate the app that uses this XML. For example, just to showcase the demonstration of that, I'll just go to this one. I'll just run this file called bridge.py, Python bridge.py. You see that this generated printed the script, end-to-end runnable script that you can copy, save it in a file, and run it to any netcon server which support IETF system Yang model. So you see that here new contents have been populated, hello from X5 XML, because that was part of your XML. So you can always redirect to this myscript.py, and then your script is done, right? So this is a demonstration of the second use case, right? Of course, this is a great educational channel. If you want to move on to IDK, how to learn what objects to use, how to populate the content, you could still come back to GUI or to API and get knowledge on the IDK. So as a part of Hackathon, what we have done is we have developed these many items over the last 1.5 days. A codec service in YDK, which we're going to push to the same GitHub, which is under DevNet. reflection API and YAM module, which is a utility. It's a pip installable utility, which we will set up a new GitHub. You can simply download that and just do a setup.py here. So all this instruction, we are just wrapping it up. And then of course, enhancement on the Yang Explorer, which is also is around Cisco DevNet, to add a YDK app button and trigger the YAM API. So yeah, that's it I have to demonstrate. Thanks. Any question?
Thanks, Manish.
Okay, hi. My name's Ken Watson, and my project for the hackathon was to update the reference implementation of netconf restconf call home. So the call home draft is currently in the RFC editor's queue. There was a reference implementation posted a couple years ago. You can see the GitHub repo and the commit history. You can see nothing's changed. There's been 2 years since any update to it. In that time frame, the tools used, OpenSSH and J2SSH Maverick, have now both been updated to support RFC 6187, which introduces X59 certificates to SSH. And also the server model draft has been updated from -01 to -09. So a lot of changes on that front as well. Hackathon update. So I've updated the code to the current version of PKIX SSH and also to the current version of J2SSH Maverick. I tested everything was still working using the old keys, meaning not the RFC 6187 keys. And then I discovered that the only RFC 6187 key supported by PKIX SSH is the elliptical curve family of keys. So that then drove me into spending the rest of my time trying to figure out, and failing, how to get the elliptical keys working. The silver lining, though, is I spent 10 plus hours working on something I wouldn't have otherwise, and I'm now motivated to complete the work in the near term. And already I'm having a niggling feeling that some aspect of the server model draft may not be right, and I'll only know when I complete this work. So to this end, it was a success. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, is that it? I know we had a lot of I2RS, ODL, NetConf, Yang stuff. Did we miss any? Did anyone who was working in that area get a chance to present? Okay. Paul, do you guys want to go next? Are you set up?
Can I just grab the... So let's... So this is kind of big data with way too small data set. So the initial problem we're trying to look at, or whatever this is interesting to look at all, is that if we have various trace routes, data sets coming from, for instance, bad calls in a voice over IP implementation or things like that, we wanted to look at whether we could get correlation to where network administrator could start debugging the network or find problems or things like that. So this is the data set we have been working on is based on a simple traceroute implementation. And it looks like that. You have a 2, the IP address where you traceroute to from, timestamp, and the intermediate nodes you get answers from, and the RTT from each of those nodes. With that data set, you could easily draw a graph like that, which is interesting in itself, especially in the Cisco network, which is located down there. You can see things go to one node, splits up, goes out through the same node. So I got a lot of help from people that knows more of data analytics, so I will let them present the graphs themselves.
Hi, my name is Anna. In this slide, we can see the histogram plot from the RTT data. Yes, only we have 380 data points to work. We can see that the most part of the RTT is concentrated in between 0 and 50 milliseconds, so really fast response from the network, and the others are like outliers. And the next slide, we can see the density plot. That is the graph of the probabilistic distribution about the RTT, yes. And of course that with more data we can see that curve could be more smooth, yes. And also we perform a cluster analysis. Next slide, please. And the cluster analysis is very common in analytics, and we can discover things that how can we divide the traffic in different classes, yes. So we have worked only with 3 classes of traffic, and in order to discover how to label this data for the future, yes, this UDP data and for classify streaming traffic. So we set up 3 classes. We also experiment with more, but this is more significance. And we can see that a cluster dendrogram that is like a tree, yes, where each branch is separate for a measurement of the dissimilarity between clusters. The algorithm used was called Cummings algorithm, and in the next slide we can see on the next slide, we can see that the cluster is a group of different RTT data points. We can see the center of the cluster that are an average of the measurements, yes. So we have a cluster where are the low latency package, yes, the green ones. That is a cluster K3, where in average were 15.33 milliseconds, the RTT delays, and they have the majority of the points, the data points. And the other 2 clusters, they represent also the RTT values that are in the middle values, and the more delays that is the case of the cluster 2, yes. So this could be used in the future when I hope that Paul can generate more data for us. and we can perform this analysis again with more data and use these 3 class of labels to classify and etiquette UDP traffic. Yes. The next slide.
Hi, how are you? I'm Nicholas. Next, we thought about doing a clustering using communities, using RTT weight. So we can see different clusters. Some are interconnected and the others not. There's a good starting point to then classify each cluster, see which cluster has the bad RTTs, and start debugging there the problem. Also, we thought it was a good idea to run PageRank algorithm using RTT also as weight. So in the future, if we have a travel network, it's a good starting point to start debugging the problems on the top nodes of this list. So we can get to the problem and optimize quality on the networks. Next. Then we thought about doing a translation of the nodes of the IPs to the SAs, the corresponding SAs. We thought it was a good idea to watch out which autonomous numbers had the best latency between each nodes in the AS number. We got that cluster there, that nodes with the corresponding SAs. We can see Cisco's 109 there. And well, I think that's all. We could do these 2 days. As Paul said, we had few data, so which more data we can get to better conclusions and get more analysis. And we hope for a solution to the problem. Our participants were our champion, Norwegian champion, Paul, Ana Laura, she's there, Argentinian, and Gerardo, Agustin, and me, we are co-workers in LACNIC. So, thank you. Anything to say? Add? Nothing? Okay.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have VPP. This team over here.
Oh, it works. Yes, my name is Ole Tran. We're doing vector packet processing, which is a new open source project, open sourced in February. It's an old project that has been in Cisco for a long time. It's an open source data plane running on commodity hardware. We wanted to bring it here to give the internet area a chance to take the data plane back. It's largely been owned by proprietary hardware, very long life cycles for new features. This gives us an opportunity in the internet area to develop code, have running code. The project we wanted to test out is source address dependent routing, something which came out of originally HomeNet, I guess. And we wanted to see if there was a suitable implementation that we could do and also see what the performance impacts of source test routing would be. I've never been to a hackathon before, and I wasn't sure, how many volunteers we would get. And suddenly, when we announced the project, there were a couple of hands going up in the room that joined in. So we ended up being 5 people working on this. 2 that came from here in Argentina. Never been to a hackathon before, never been to an IETF before, and in the style of dropping people on the deep end, she's now going to present the rest of the slides. Welcome, Victoria.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria, and as Owen said, this is my first IETF hackathon. Has been a while since I don't program not working, so it has been quite an adventure. So let's kick it on. Next slide. So we have been working on creating an algorithm implementation and testing for source address dependent routing. Some of the questions that first arose was, okay, what's the need for CEDAR? And well, let me give a brief introduction to this. IPv6 is designed to have multiple addresses for the same interface. And this allows us to support multi-homing for provider aggregatable addresses. The only difficulty that arises in this scenario is that usually ISPs block ingress traffic. And in order to avoid having packets lost, we have to make sure that our routing algorithm takes into account that the source address has been addressed for the ISP router that is going to pass through. So, next slide. Well, that's good. So in this hackathon, as On told, we work, well, me, Ezekiel, which is not here, Pierre, who were remotely, Eric and Ole. We spend most of our time working on setting up the development environment, which was not trivial for me at least. Well, we pulled the code and built everything that we have in the repo. And we started brainstorming on the proposal for the data structure that we are going to use for this implementation. The first one was to extend the hash key to perform destination source lookups. And the second alternative was to use destination table entry point for source tables. We could manage to have the run implementation for the first alternative. The second one, we were fortunately, or I don't know, busy doing some networking and getting to know each other, so we couldn't make that work, but it is on the to-do list. And the other stuff we have been working on is creating a test tab that could allow us to auto-generate the FIPS, pickup files, and then perform, using that information, some performance measurements. So this is a sample of a CEDAR table. This is one of the samples we have been using to test the implementation we made. I don't know if, well, there is not much information to say about this, so next slide. And this is the algorithm that we implemented. The hash table is indexed by the destination address, a prefix length, and the FIP index. We first iterate over the prefix length, starting from the longest in the table until we find a match. And when we have a match, if there is no source prefix, then that's the normal distillation lookup. We just move forward. If there is a source prefix, then we perform a lookup in the source destination hash table using a different hash function that includes the destination address, the destination prefix length, the source address, and the source prefix length, and the FIP index. And then we iterate over the source prefix length, starting from the longest. Well, we perform the same process as we did with the destination first. And if there is no match on the source prefix, that would be the worst case scenario, then we backtrap up to the longest march in the destination. And for this implementation, well, we could generate this performance graph in which we can see that the y-axis is the amount of packets sent per second, and the x-axis shows the covering prefixes that when we have grown them, we can see that the performance using the destination source table increments while we have more covering. And well, that's all I can say about this. probably, Ole, if you want to add something else more precise, then please. Here. Okay, if someone else has a question, please address them to the champion, not to me. But, well, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you much. Let's see. You guys were done. Let's go. So DNS, are you guys ready? Do you want the mic? Mic up front?
Yeah, well, I mean, Allison, why don't you bring your computer up front?
I need to share.
Yeah, you need to
Go
share.
into the-
Okay.
Into WebEx.
All right, so back into WebEx and then
Right up at the top, it says share.
here, share, okay.
Exactly.
My screen,
Yeah, that'll be the easiest.
okay, and then we got this one here.
And if you want, you can set your laptop there, here, wherever.
Okay,
you
where do we
prefer.
want to stand?
You do it over there, it's fine.
Over here, okay. All right.
Yeah, I can move this.
And we have a mic, yes, all right.
Use this mic.
Okay. All right, so Dan and I are going to speak for the DNS team, all those things. So this massive number of participants, we have a lively group, and I think I counted there are 4 working groups and 5 drafts that got addressed, as well as a variety of security and privacy needs, and there's at least 3 different DNS open source stacks that are involved, and I'm not going to try to go through everybody's names, but thanks everybody. And one thing is that there's a slide or two about many, but not all of the things that were done by the 3 tables of DNS people.
So, okay, so, oh, there we go. Oh, we're just waiting for the delay in WebEx. All right. So, one of the things we had was Dave Lawrence was working on adding into Bind 9, implementing a draft that is in the RFC editor queue and should be popping out soon, which will basically chain EDNS, basically make it so that you don't have to make multiple DNS queries at once. You'll be able to get all the records so that you'll be able to go back and validate the whole chain of all the way up to the chain of trust. So he did this within Bind. As he notices there, it doesn't actually yet include the other DNSSEC records, but it is partially working there, and it's underway. And right, Dave, it's good to go. That's one part of that. Next piece. We've got a screenshot. There we are.
Yes.
All right, it works.
Yes. See if you can find the problems.
Okay. Next.
Okay, now out of the trans working group, I should have mentioned, we also had 4 people working remotely, including overnight efforts by people. And Linus Nordberg has implemented, it's just taking its time to refresh the screen for some reason.
4 people remote, and how many here?
I can't count them, uncountable.
3 tables worth. I don't know. How many were there? Count yourself quickly. Raise your hand.
Raise your hands.
This was some of the people that were here.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So from so I said there were 4 working groups. So DNSOP Trans is the next one. They've started efforts on a DNSSEC transparency using a crypto ledger methodology that's been developed for certificates. And Linus has been working on code for this, Erlang and C code. And he has asked us to mention that he'd really like a fiendish DNSSEC tester to come forward to help him do some of the tests for this work. And I think that this will get discussed later in the week in trans. Okay?
So while we're waiting for WebEx, Shane Kerr, who's sitting back there, was doing some work on security testing of getting this, the pieces together as the Get DNS API, which implements all of these pieces, gets ready to approach its 1.0 release. He went on working to do that, and he also integrated it with the Deckard test suite from folks that are there. So that was his big piece. We'll just keep going, and the slides will catch up.
The slides will catch up with us slowly but surely. Okay, so next is next is efforts by Jan and Daniel Kahn-Gilmore and Marek, two of them from CZNIC and Daniel from ACLU. They're here, and this was to put DNS over TLS support into the not recursive DNS server, because the more recursives that can do DNS over TLS, the more likely we have DNS privacy. This is work from the DPRIVE working group that's gone into the RFC editor. And they discovered that like many other recursives, there isn't out-of-order processing by TCP. And in a marathon all-night session, Marek actually got that implemented for NOT as well. So that was a very successful result we should move to the next slide. Okay, now over to you.
So Evan and Sebastian Castro were working in Bind on the fact that in order to go and do key management within Bind, you have to do a whole bunch of scripts. And Evan had a very descriptive slide where he showed about 9 different things you had to do to go and make this work. And so they worked on simplifying that to basically turn it into being more policy-based, et cetera. And as you can see on the slide, they had a whole bunch of different bug fixes, some changes, they made some documentation, and generally got this to the point where it's on its way. Evan, it's in the code base now or on its way to the code base? It will be. Okay. And they also learned how to write better Python code, cleaner and following guide, and do better documentation. Always a good thing.
Okay, let's see if we can move along here. Back to Get DNS, John Dickinson spent time trying to get exercising and testing of the transport modes, which are now in Get DNS, and discovered that as you often do, that Get DNS itself needs performance testing. And so this is an ongoing project, but a bunch of test scripts got developed, and we learned something about zero windows in TCP that we could tickle very easily with Get DNS. So that was kind of fun.
And then just right before this session started, Google announced that they were going to be supporting queries to their public DNS server over TLS. Over HTTPS. Sorry about that. HTTPS. And so Sarah Dickinson changed her focus a little bit here to focus on what is that and how does it relate to the ongoing work that we're doing here around standards-based and other pieces that are here. And so she went to go and do that and put an implementation into the Get DNS API as well. And she's come out with this report that is at a URL that doesn't fit on the screen, but we'll get to you, that talks about what this is all about.
Okay. And by the way, it also runs over HTTP, she discovered. So we're seeing some interesting privacy and security questions there.
With output in JSON.
Yes, right. Okay, so another thing that was done was to follow on from last, this was Gauri who was working remotely. She added the ability to ask the online query tool on the Get DNS API website to do the various transport modes that have been developed because of ongoing DPRIVE and DNSOP work. And so now that if you go to Gauri.html under the getdnsapi.net, you can try this out and see some of the capabilities in a way that doesn't require you to install the tool. And then we're going to move on to a very quick presentation on the last effort, which is part of the TLS working group. It's an extension that's been proposed to the TLS working group for doing DANE in TLS. And Schumann and Willem have a couple slides to show you on that. So generally, a lot of activity. DNS is broad. It does a lot of things, lots of working groups, lots of drafts, lots of agility. Here you go, guys. Thank you.
Thanks. So we are part of the DNS team, but Allison told us we have to explain our own slides, so that's why we're here. So the goal of our project was essentially to implement a proposed new TLS extension that allows a TLS server, if signaled by the client, to return the DANE record corresponding to its server certificate, along with the complete set of DNS records that are required to authenticate it. And there's a diagram, which I'm going to hand over to Willem to explain.
Yes, so above the dashed line, you see the normal Dane lookup, and a client making a connection to a TLS server has to use its own resolver, which might not be a very good one. It might be a customer premises environment resolver, which breaks DNSSEC, or can do address lookups only, or it's tedious to do all the complete chain lookup, because you actually have to validate it yourself if you want to do it good. So below the dashed line you see the TLS DNSSEC chain extension, which is a draft on which Richard Barnes is too, by the way, over there, and Melinda Shore, working remote. So we did an implementation of a client and a server for this, and it's written in C, and it uses OpenSSL 1.1 to do, it utilizes the new Dane verification functions, and it also uses the CatDNS 1.0 beta 1 release to query for the complete the TLSA record anti-complete chain. And here you see example output of the server, but more interesting, the slide that's still scrolling in is the output of the client. You connect to the server and you see that the complete chain plus TLSA record is received in the TLS extension, and that the certificate is authenticated with it.
So this again enables the whole Dane resolution to be dealt with on the TLS server side of that, and send it all back to get that extra layer of verification on top of the certificate. You can apply the Dane validation on top of that as well. So that was the DNS team. It was again 3 tables of different folks doing different things, plus other people remotely, and a whole lot of work. So I don't know who's up next.
Great, thanks. Nice job to that team, and we're going to move on to the TLS 1.3 work.
Hi, so I don't have slides, but Richard Barnes in the back there is going to be running this WebEx presentation. So as you guys probably know, we're working on TLS 1.3, which is the biggest change to TLS since the IETF took it over. And at the beginning of this hackathon, we had some big goals, some things we were trying to reach for. And the first one was getting session resumption with pre-shared keys working with TLS 1.3. This is sort of a big step. And our stretch goal was to get the 0 round trip mode working in our 2 stacks. So we have a Golang version, which is Mint, which was started by Richard Barnes, and NSS, which is Firefox's stack. So if you can see here, we have done it. Everything is up and working. So so if you can see right here, we have a server, tls13.cloudflare.com, and this is a proxy in front of Cloudflare's blog. And if you open it up and look in Firefox's configuration here, you can see the protocol version is 1.3. But don't take my word for it. Test it out yourselves. 0 round trip, interoperability with NSS and Mint, and TLS 1.3. Here it is. We're done.
All right. Fantastic. Questions?
It's live. This is live. So if you speak TLS 1.3, this server's up.
Well done. It doesn't do any other versions of TLS.
That's a good way. Yeah, it's a good way to force people to upgrade, right? All right. Let's see. Any other presentations? Did I miss anyone? Oh, okay. Great. Sorry about that.
Can you share the slide? I send it to
okay. When did you send them? Can they present? That'd be better. Otherwise, I'll take it down.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm going to give a report about Nemo language and ONOS SDN controller Hackathon project. So in this hackathon, we put the applications in the ONOS controller and deployed our environment in the sandbox provided by Huawei developer community. The sandbox can provide servers, switches, and routers, and the users can customize their environment. So you just need to bring a laptop and connect to the sandbox. So you have the environment with real devices. So we believe it's a very good place to develop, deploy, and test your new ideas. Okay. So for this hackathon, we did a test about the use case of the Nemo implementation on the ONOS controller. The Nemo language is used to describe the service of a hybrid cloud, which provide DMZ area to connect to the internet, and also interior area to connect to the enterprise part, and also provide a bandwidth on-demand service between the enterprise service and the interior area. Another part of the hackathon work is an improvement on the Nemo language editor. We improved the editor with a better keyword parsing function. Okay, the left diagram shows that the service described using the Nemo language will be executed using the ONOS controller to the network devices. And on the right side, we can see that if you use the Nemo language to dynamically change the bandwidth, the quality of the video service will be changed accordingly. And okay. Another part of the work of this hackathon is ONOS Layer 2 VPN. It is also an application on the ONOS controller. It is used to create a Layer 2 VPN service. Specifically, it's an A-line service using the RESTful API, and then the controller will map the service models into the network devices. So we deploy this environment also in the sandbox. So we can see from the diagram we have real devices, real routers, and real controller, and also a test engine. So what we did during the hackathon is we tested this ONOS Layer 2 VPN application with the sandbox environment. And during the service creation using the RESTful API, we also fixed some bugs in the service templates. And then we verified the performance of the remote sandbox environment, because now we are in the Argentina, but the data center and the sandbox is located in the data center in China. So we checked the service performance, and this is acceptable for the hackathon and for the other development. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Any questions?
Great. All right, thank you. Anyone else that I accidentally skipped? Oh, okay, SCTP. Someone's presenting from back there.
No, I can't get WebEx running, so don't know why. Yeah, we did some work on the SCTP stack, basically fixing bugs and writing test scripts. So we have solved a couple of bugs. We have added about 70 test scripts. We found issues in the draft we were focusing, so it really makes sense to implement this stuff. So we had things which are not specified in the document, which needs to be specified. You were asking for lessons learned. One lesson learned is that don't try to run VMware virtual machines on a Mac with bridged networking on a wireless. It sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't work. So if you really can't run through nets, don't use virtual machines for the wireless interface. Thanks.
Okay, so now finally I did get everyone. Okay. Thanks. Any questions on any of the presentations from our judges before you guys figure stuff out for us? Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone. They're going to chat among themselves and figure out some winners. And we do have some great prizes here that folks from Huawei, who is sponsoring, has donated. Just a chance, E or Barry, do you guys want to say something?
Yeah, my name is E, and we are very happy to sponsor and host this hackathon. Yeah, because we do think the hackathon and open source will be the part of the IETF, and also we glad to see the hackathon just started from the last year. So be happy to help and support and sponsor, and also yeah, we'll continue the second meeting and the third meeting this year. Thank you.
Yeah, let's later after we.
Actually, I have the MEC presentation too.
Oh, okay.
Can I do that real quick?
Yeah. Sorry. We have one more presentation. Is there? Are there some slides?
Yeah, there is. Barnes, do you have the slides able to you on WebEx?
Here you go.
I think so, if it works. If it doesn't, I can just talk too, but. Is it not working? Or? Yeah, I'll just talk. Okay. Oh, there we go. But I'm talking about FVC. We did a couple things. So on the first page, yeah. So this is actually the last page. But if you flip back a couple, yeah. So the first thing we did is on one slide. We made it so that our compressor testing can run on not AWS, so you can run it on your favorite, cluster Raspberry Pis, or more importantly, it's useful for being able to test it without having an AWS account, so you can just hook up local machines and test easily, or if you want to, if you have some other sort of, available compute power, you can now use that instead of AWS. It was not terrible. It was just I basically had to go through, find everything that was hard-coded to particular AWS paths and make it all configurable. So that works now. Next slide. There's a bunch of fixes. It makes this nice copy-pastable report now as well. Basically, there's a new testing draft that I wrote. So I found a bunch of things where it didn't actually match, and so I fixed those up as well. So we now produce these nice reports of summaries, different videos, basically how much a change improves, and it sums them all up on the bottom. Another thing that Tim worked on the next slide, is we also did modified the DAL entry encoder and added a special low overhead mode for the special case. So the DAL range encoder currently has basically, you can specify probabilities to it, and they're fractional, so they have a numerator and denominator. And the dollar range coder is super flexible. You can put in any denominator in a certain range. But in the case of like the VPX codecs, like VP8, VP9, they use denominators are always powers of 2 all the time, which and they've already basically they've paid the cost of having the less flexible denominator in their codec in other places, and so we wanted to add like a fast path or a lower overhead mode basically for when the denominator is a special case of power 2. So we implemented a special case. We haven't actually compared it to the VPX coders yet, but we did actually get a very small but noticeable gain in DALA when we added it. So that's what we worked on.
Great, thank you. Okay. All right. Barry, were you coming up to say something, or were you just giving me the mic? Okay. Okay, yeah, sure. Yep. Okay, so they're going to take a few minutes to go over things. I think some snacks did get brought in, if you guys didn't notice that while you were intently listening to the presentations. Thanks for your attention during that time. Another thing I want to ask you, while all this is fresh in your mind, obviously some things went really well. We know people did a lot of great projects. Some things could have been a bit smoother, like probably our use of the WebEx that we threw together at the last minute. Maybe we can plan that out a little bit better next time. But if you can like to hear your thoughts, your suggestions. Hopefully a lot of you will participate again in Berlin. And so just what worked? What do you think we need to change? What would you like to see done differently, say in Berlin or whenever you're going to participate in your next hackathon? Anyone have some thoughts they're willing to share? I'd love to get your feedback about anything. Yeah.
Hacking all week. Maybe this is a whole
Yeah.
new mode for IETF. I mean, we've done this before, but now we're doing it with support in good ways too.
Okay. Yeah. So more like think a little bit more about remote participation than people continuing outside of the hackathon.
Yeah.
So one of the things is, I'd asked all of you to give me your presentations at the end about your projects and what you did. It's a good way to help people work on this stuff afterwards is if you post your code somewhere. We created, thanks to Paul, we have the IETF Hackathon organization we created, and already a couple of you have uploaded some code to it. If anyone else has some code they worked on and they don't have a home for it yet, let me know. You can just send me your GitHub ID, and we'll add you into the organization, and then you can create a repository right there for your code. If you already have it hosted somewhere else, that's great, but what you might want to do is add the link to that, to the wiki or into your presentation that you did, so that you and others, can find the code after the hackathon, and, please do continue to work on it. Yeah, other thoughts?
Make some effort to attract some local communities like university students and get them up here and then try some code here. I think that'll make it more interesting instead of just IETF folks.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, actually we did that, and we did have some folks from the local community here. Maybe not so much the universities, but we did have folks from locally here. Actually, yes, so some of you who were here first time like IETF, how did you hear about the hackathon?
I'm actually involved in some open source communities that are local, and the community that I spread the voice about this hackathon was Sys Army, and another one is Linux Chicks Argentina, but that's the only source I had which I hear about this hackathon. There was not in local media or, I don't know, in college, because it has been a while since I'm not in college, but that's the situation.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something we're trying to do, because, yeah, one of the goals is to attract new people into the IETF. So we do want to do work around that, and I think we're trying with the IETF in general and also for the hackathon to reach out to these other communities. In Berlin, there's several universities right there, so we'll be contacting them and trying to invite them to come to the hackathon, come to the IETF, check it out, see what it's about. Yeah. Other comments, suggestions? Yeah.
So one comment I was considering before joining this hackathon was for the technologies that were described in the hackathon website, there was no extensive, like, a newbie description of what were those and which project do you want to tackle in during the hackathon. That I think that having that information would make onboarding easier, not only to understand what you are working on, but also to make sure you have the right tools for develop and to help contribution. I spend way too much time setting up my development environment, which I think it's something that I could avoid doing if I knew which kind of dependencies I require for this hackathon. That's only.
Yeah, and that's something I've tried to do, but it's hard. I'm sure everyone has a lot of things you're trying to do before you get here for the hackathon and for IETF. But if you think about it, you're going to be giving a presentation to folks here in the room the day of the hackathon. The sooner you can get that presentation available and the information that's useful to other participants available and post it to the wiki or the better. And I think that'll help with this problem. And also the information that you post, I think that's important. Think about what someone who's not super familiar with the work might benefit from. So yeah, thanks. That's a great comment. Other thoughts? Yeah, hold on.
Well, I was wondering how many people who came here weren't sure what they were going to do when they came in the door and did go and choose a group to work with? How many people did choose a group to work with after they got in here? Okay, a couple folks. Well, okay. Well, I was just curious because we did spend a lot of time in the beginning talking about what the groups are going to work on. And I wasn't sure how many people actually moved versus, came in here knowing what they were already going to do. But there were some folks who did make that choice, so that's good. Oh, okay. All right. So then let me rephrase it to be precise. We are at the IETF. How many people came in here and did not know which group they were going to work with? One gentleman in the back wins the prize. Okay. No, two up here, three up here. Okay. Okay, yeah. So, all right. There were some who didn't know what group. I was just curious as to how many people came in here already with a pre-planned plan of action versus just looking around. So it's good.
One other question I had, I did ask people at the beginning how many people this was their first experience with the IETF. If you could raise your hands again. Okay, great. How many of you are planning on staying here for one or more days of the meetings, Monday through Friday? Oh, just about all of you. Okay. If there's anyone who is interested in staying, and the big problem is that there's a registration fee to attend, let me know, because there may be something we can do about that. Because we really do appreciate you being at the hackathon and would like for you to get more involved with the IETF. So I know there's some mechanisms. It's not me paying your registration. That's why. So don't worry about that. But come up and see me, and I'll try to connect you with the right people because we can probably accommodate you. Okay. Any other thoughts, suggestions? Would love to hear it. Again, once you leave this room, I know you're going to get real busy with everything else. So. The other thing, if you didn't already send me your presentations, I know many of you did, please do. If you updated it as a result of coming up here and talking, or some of you merged presentations, whatever you want to have posted at the end, that would be great. Oh, another thing, I mentioned before the possibility to demonstrate something at Bits and Bytes. So Bits and Bytes is on Thursday evening. I think it's from 7:45 to 9:45 this time. They have food and drinks, and I understand some tango dancing presentations and possible instructions will be happening there too. So who here is interested in showing off what you did at the table? Because we'll have a table for, okay, great. All right. So best thing, I guess, if you can, send me like one slide that will be put up on a screen, because what they do is that they rotate, they'll have like a shared screen that shows a sampling of stuff. So send me a slide that you want included in that, and then I'll get back to you with any other information. But plan on showing up on Thursday around 7:30 to do some setup. Hopefully you don't have much setup time to do. And yeah, so we shouldn't have any problem with space. I only saw 3 groups, so plenty of, maybe 4? Okay. And if anyone else decides they want to do something there too, let me know. This is Thursday evening. Okay. If you want to, and you can come check out the prizes that are up here and get an idea of what you're competing for. Or like I said, you know, there's snacks. Please do stick around. Well, the award stuff should be fairly quick, and that'll be coming up pretty soon. All right, thanks a lot.
So I can't move around. Okay, so we're ready with prizes up here. And I'll thank my Huawei colleagues for bringing a good, interesting set of things here. We'll talk about that in a minute. So some of our comments from the judges, we mentioned the I2RS crowd for the best reroute of hackathon goals. When you couldn't accomplish what you'd set out to, you rerouted and figured out a way to accomplish what some other things that were important to accomplish instead. And so that gets mentioned. The yang, and that's all I have to say about that. No. The mention there is for building a great new toolbox, and I really like the interworking between the code sprint and the hackathon. So my note on that was the best sprint during the hackathon. We have mention for, oh, there it is, the DNS Dane gang, the best big project and large group participation. One of the things with several projects had remote participants, and I think that was a really good thing to have in this hackathon. We were all impressed with the breadth of the work on interesting topics from all the groups. The bringing in remote participants, having new local participants from the local area, as well as new participants who hadn't been to hackathons before, and new projects at every hackathon was exciting to us. The VPP people, most ambitious new project, really seems to be interesting and going well. And for overall best accomplishment, and we'll have you come up first for your prizes, the TLS 1.3 folks of getting that working with Cloudflare. I think that's really important for kicking off the TLS 1.3 protocol. So what we have up here, I'm told these jobbies are basically Fitbits in Chinese versions. Perhaps they only speak Chinese. I don't know how well people will be able to follow them. We have Wi-Fi extenders, 16 gigabyte memory cards, headphones, cases for phones or whatever, and this thing is called a selfie diver. It's a Bluetooth remote trigger for taking selfies. So let's start off with the TLS 1.3 crowd. Any of you who are interested in grabbing a prize, pick what you like. And then we'll come down to the next group. Now picture, photo op. If you come up and get a prize, you have to have your picture taken, so sit back down. Ecker, you can face the other way when your picture's taken. It's okay. Come on. Come get prizes. Yeah, that's what I'm. Wi-Fi extender. With, I'm sure the interface to it is in Chinese as well. Okay. So if I take this, we can figure out how to get it. Yeah. You guys be able to photo as well, please? Yeah, me and Barton Thompson.
The judges in there too.
Okay, so now let's have the VPP folks come and claim the next set of prizes.
Thank you. Oh, a Bluetooth selfie stick must be the obvious driver.
Yeah, I think you pull on the little thing and it triggers the shutter.
We have no privacy concerns.
No.
Now the DNSSEC Dane folks. Next up for gifts from Huawei. And photos from ISOC. They did get the mention for best large project, so that's yeah. Well, I called everybody a gang actually.
Hey Barry, does he get to take the on the table?
Oh.
Let's get a picture.
It's a very old one. I don't think you want it.
Right.
We still have some prizes for Yang Yang, Yang, Yang Yang. And there are a few memory cards and cases on the table for any of the rest of you who would like to come and not stampede each other, and go ahead and grab them. Thank you everybody for participating. It's been a really great hackathon, and come back in Berlin. Anything you want to say?
Swamp. I actually need this water.